So, first of all, I want to welcome you to this call because this one is going to be worth every single minute. And first, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Carla Clayton. I am the Wellness Lady. And for 33 years, I've made it my mission to help women feel their best naturally. I'm a retired teacher turned wellness entrepreneur and health coach. And I was that woman who thought I was doing everything right, but still I was exhausted and I was so tired all the time. I was running on empty and just not feeling good. And so when I find someone and meet someone like Dr. Maria, I absolutely have to bring them to you because she has so much value to share. And I'm so honored to be able to introduce you to her today. Dr. Maria Guzman is a triple board certified sleep physician. She was trained at Emory University and Mayo Clinic. She is the founder of DreamLife Medicine and Wellness. But what makes her truly special is that she doesn't just treat symptoms. She treats the whole person, gets to the root causes. She blends the best of sleep science, metabolic health, and mind body medicine to help women who are, like I was, tired but wired. And she helps them to finally feel like themselves again. Dr. Guzman, welcome so much. I'm so glad that you are here.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much for having me, Carla. Excited to share with your community, answer any questions. If you're here live, I'm excited to have you. And yeah,
can you just tell us a little bit about, I mean, you went through all this training in medical school. Like what got you into the other side, like bringing the whole, treating the whole person?
yeah. So I practice integrative sleep medicine. And what does that mean, right? I take everything that I learned through 12 years of medical training and traditional medicine and all the science and all the FDA approved treatments, and I incorporate the fact that our mind and our body are inseparable, right? In traditional medicine, we've kind of separated those. How did I land here? Well, I started having my own physical symptoms related to chronic stress, anxiety, mental health through my busy career as a physician. And I really thought I was doing everything right. And little did I know that my emotional health needed just as much care as my physical health. And how did I finally what hit the final point to making me kind of pause and get into mind body medicine was my own imposter syndrome as a sleep doctor who couldn't sleep well. As I started my
Mm.
first job out of all that training, I was like, I am living my dream life. I've landed the ideal job. And yet I was still like under a lot of stress, and I was having headaches, migraines, brain fog, all of the sleep issues, insomnia, waking up at 2 and 3 in the morning.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm a sleep doctor. Like, I'm doing all the things. What's going on? And that's how I've realized sleep is a function of our nervous system. And our nervous system tells a story. And there's way more than just fixing or addressing a sleep disorder. We have to address our emotional state as well. So that's how Dream Life became what it is today.
Wow. I can so relate that to that, what you're saying. And I'm sure that many of the people of our listeners are also having that. Oh, yes. It's like, here I am trying to do this job and, I don't feel my best. So I am excited about what we're going to talk about. But before we dive in real deep, I want to start with something really important. Many of the people watching today have been told their labs are normal, their sleep study looks fine, and yet they still feel terrible. They're still having trouble sleeping. What do you say to that woman right now, or man?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to listen to our patients, right? When there's a symptom, when there's a discomfort, even if labs are normal, even if testing is normal, we really have to dig deeper and address what the root cause is. And there's a lot of strength to traditional medicine. There's a lot that we know, but just as much, there's so much that we don't know. We know that stress, chronic stress, and trauma impact the nervous system. There's more likelihood of autoimmune diseases, as a sleep doctor, right, insomnia is a huge it's a huge prevalence in our communities, and yet we may tell somebody to do sleep hygiene. We may give somebody a sleep medication. And what we know from the evidence is that working with our thoughts is actually around sleep is actually more impactful. It lasts longer. And so we have to look at how is a person actually doing, right? If you're fatigued, if you're not sleeping well, what is the cause of the fatigue? Because it could be sleepiness. It could be you're sleep deprived, you have a sleep disorder, you're not getting quality sleep. But it could be physical fatigue from being on your feet all day, right? From talking all day. If you're a teacher, if you're a mental health therapist, if you're talking and processing other people's um, uh, interactions all day, that's exhausting, right? So I help people identify when we talk about energy, what is physical fatigue, emotional fatigue, fatigue related to a poor sleep quality or unrefreshing sleep or not getting enough sleep. And that can be very different from being tired. Tired, maybe you had a long day and you get sleep and you feel better the next day. But what I see more and more these days is this relentless fatigue of like, no matter how much I sleep, I don't feel well. I don't have energy during the day. I'm exhausted. And so much of that I've come to realize through my own experience and through seeing so many patients struggle with this is that there's a degree of emotional exhaustion that so many of us are experiencing, and that can turn into inflammation in the body. And so you may have um, skin rashes that you may not be able to identify. You may have fragmented sleep that doesn't quite fit into a box of a sleep condition. And so that's the person that I want to help. The one where it's like, my doctors tell me everything's fine, but I don't feel good. And that's where we can dig deeper.
Wow. Wow, this is so informative. I am blown away with your knowledge and your experience and how you combine everything. It's just like it's so rare to find people, medical professionals that are doing this. So I'm so glad I met you. All right, so
Thank
let's
you.
dig in now. Let's get
Yeah.
into what we really want to dive deep on, and that is the big one. Because in my conversations with women, this is what I hear in our community. What does sleep have to do with my energy, my hormones, and my weight management? What is happening in my body that is causing me not to sleep well?
Yeah, absolutely. So sleep is a function of the nervous system in that we can't, if I asked you right now, Carla, fall asleep, you're going to tell me, what do you mean? Right? Like maybe I'm
Right.
tired, but maybe I'm wired and my brain is going. Like you can tell me to
Yeah.
close my eyes, but I can't voluntarily sleep. So sleep is something that our body has to shift gears down into. It's different than any other health behavior. And probably for people who are watching this, especially if you're here live, right? Your health, you're committed to it. You want to learn, you want to do whatever the doctor is saying, you want to take the supplements that you're learning about, you want to do the thing. The thing with sleep is it's not a willpower thing. It can't be just done and checked off the box, right? And so with
Right.
sleep, we have to kind of understand the physiology. It's driven by hormones. Two main symptoms or two main factors drive sleep. One is the sleep drive, which is this pressure for sleepiness that starts to build the moment we wake up. We open our eyes, adenosine and other hormones are being made in the brain. And they start to increase, and that's your push to sleep. So, towards the end of the day, you have your greatest sleep drive. When you take a
Mm.
nap in the middle of the day, you clear some of that. And so, that night you may not have as much sleep drive. If you take caffeine, you're going to block adenosine receptors, you're blocking sleep drive. So that's one of the systems that regulates sleep. The other is our circadian rhythm, which is driven by hormones like melatonin that tells our brain when to fall asleep at night when the sunlight goes down, and cortisol, which is our wake promoting hormone. It wakes us up and it starts to rise naturally around 3 or 4 in the morning. And that's what tells our brain when it's time to be awake. So sleep and wakefulness are a dance of hormones that change throughout the whole day, right? So when we talk about hormones, you may be talking about estrogen and progesterone in women when they go into perimenopause, which could be even 5 or 10 years before menopause. And all of that dysregulation of reproductive hormones like estrogen and progesterone directly impacts sleep in a couple of ways. Progesterone is a sedating hormone. It causes increase in GABA, which is one of our sleep promoting neurotransmitters in the brain. So progesterone drops as we get into perimenopause and menopause. That means we have less sedating effect in our brain. Estrogen drops. As estrogen drops, we have a abnormal regulation of temperature. So we may have more hot flashes, for example. The muscles of the airway get weak as estrogen goes down, and that means there's more sleep disordered breathing. So women, 3 or 4 times more chance of sleep apnea as you go into those menopausal that menopausal transition. Um, and so it's all connected. Our body is a dance of physiology, and hopefully that sets the stage as to how, as we go into those into our 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, 50s, sleep. There's a point where somebody says, "I used to sleep great, and now all of a sudden I can't fall asleep, or I'm waking up multiple times per night." So sleep physiology changes across the lifespan because of these hormonal fluctuations. And then with weight, the other thing that happens is estrogen drops, muscle mass drops, which means insulin resistance increases. Our blood sugar is less easily regulated during those perimenopause and menopause years. And so that also increases the likelihood of weight gain, because insulin is a storage hormone. And if our body's making more and more of it just to keep our sugar normal, that can cause weight gain. Uh, and then there's cortisol, which we try to think that it's the villain, but it's actually very necessary for life. But chronic stress absolutely increases baseline cortisol levels. And cortisol is a stress hormone. It tells your body to store energy, to rev up for running away from a lion. And so that can cause weight gain as well. So it's all connected. And hopefully that gives a little bit of the science behind that.
That was fabulous because, like you said, like we hear a lot about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and all that around perimenopause, menopause. And why I have so many clients reaching out to me now saying, "Hey, what do we do for cortisol? I have high cortisol. I have adrenal fatigue and things like this." So explaining how they're all related is very helpful, and that sleep is such an important part of regulating those hormones,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that what I
Yep.
was hearing you say?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Even one night of sleep deprivation can increase ghrelin levels the next day, which is your hunger hormone, and it decreases leptin, which is your fullness hormone. So even one night where you may sleep 5, 4 hours, whatever happened, sleep enough, your metabolic health is directly affected the next day as well. So you're hungrier, you feel less full with what you're eating, you're craving more high fat, sugary foods that are more energetically based because your body's craving energy. So sleep is the core of where your body recovers, where your immune system restores,
mhm.
where you consolidate and process emotions and memories, all of it. It impacts your brain health, impacts your metabolic physiology, and so it's all connected. If I can, like, if there's a big overarching theme of this, is that physiology and our emotional state is connected.
So what we're going to do in just a few minutes is we're really going to get into, okay, but what are some things we can do? Like what's in our control that we can do to try to help get better sleep at night, which is going to help all these other issues that we're having and experiencing. But I wanted to get in, I just curious myself, what go a little deeper into why does the cortisol wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Why is that something I hear so often and
Yeah.
experience myself?
Yeah, so our sleep is this balance of different sleep stages. So our body goes through a lot of different processes as we're going through a night of sleep. We start with very slow waves in the brain that are deep sleep. At the beginning of the night, we have most of our deep sleep. And so you may see it on your Apple Watch or your Aura Ring that there's more deep sleep in that first half of the night. That's important to know around that 2 or 3, 4 a.m. awakening, because what's happening in the second part of the night. And during that sleep is when we dream, when we process emotions, and it shows up in our dreams. And we have more in REM sleep, we have more of a sympathetic state. Our body is in a more stress response state. So heart rate is a little bit higher, blood pressure is a little bit higher. We may notice those rapid eye movements in a sleep study. So in REM, we have an increase in cortisol, right? And so if we're living at a baseline higher level of cortisol because of chronic stress, trauma, everything that living in today's world and today's society can cause us to feel, um, what happens is cortisol has a certain threshold at which time we wake up, we open our eyes. It's really interesting. All of a sudden, like, same time every day, we may open our eyes, and it's like, what is driving that, right? So it's hormonal changes. But if you're living at a higher cortisol baseline, you hit that threshold earlier in the morning. So cortisol starts to rise normally for all of us 2 hours typically before your natural wake up time. And
Hmm.
natural wake up time depends on the person's circadian rhythm. So it's a little bit different for each of us, right? Some of us naturally wake up at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. for some late sleepers. Maybe it's 6 a.m. for some of us. And as we get older, it tends to shift a little bit forward. So we wake up earlier and earlier. And that's a natural progression of how sleep physiology changes. So, to answer your question around that 3 or 4 a.m., we have more disordered breathing, so more likelihood of sleep apnea during REM. We have more REM, which is more cortisol, which means our brain is a little bit more active. And we don't have as much sleep pressure. So, that sleep pressure, which I talked about before, it builds up over the course of the day. And in those first few hours, we clear it, which means we're not as likely to fall asleep in the second part of the night as we are when we first went to bed, because we don't have as much of the sleep pressure.
Oh, that was so helpful to learn that it naturally goes up anyway. But what I took away from that is when we're under chronic stress, and so many in our community are under chronic stress, that you're already starting out a higher level
Yeah,
of
yeah,
cortisol, which is going to
yeah,
make it hard to sleep because that's
yeah.
to wake you up. The cortisol is to wake you up.
Yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
was
And
very
you may
interesting.
notice, like notice the times where it happens, right? Do you have a deadline that you're trying to meet? Do you have an important meeting? Are you going to be on a flight the next day? Like, what is it around your week that caused that particular night for you to wake up earlier? So our
Mhm.
brain's job is to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And if we
Mhm.
feel that an interview on a podcast or a special meeting or something that we're trying to complete, if that is in our mind, our brain is apt to keep us alert so that we don't miss that, so that we're in this state of hyper arousal. And that can be another reason. So stress is one thing, physiology is another. Do we have a sleep disorder that is waking us up? Is it our bladder? Is it whatever it is around that time? Is there something we can support? And if there's nothing that we can support with our stress management, regulation of our nervous system, then knowing that each night of sleep is a little bit different and not beating ourselves up when we have that awakening. Because what happens in our brain is really interesting. We wake up and we're like, oh, I'm going to have a terrible day. Like, I need to get 2 more hours or I'm going to have a terrible day. And so thought in and of itself activates the brain. So what we want to do in that 3 a.m. awakening is put a hand on your chest and be like, hey, brain, you're waking me up. Good morning. I wonder if I can get just a little bit more sleep. I'm curious. Let's see if we can drop down, noticing the breath, not
Mm.
thinking, oh, I have these projects, these deadlines. Oh, I'm worried about these relationships, financial, whatever the stressor is. If we let our brain go there, then that keeps us awake. So we say, hey, I know I have thoughts. I know I have worries. I know I have deadlines. I know I have things that I need to think about for the rest of the day. I know that it could be worrisome that I may not feel good if I don't go back to sleep. Let me just tap into myself. Like, what do I need right now? And drop into your breath.
Mm.
And you may notice that as you drop into what do I need, what's going on, your brain may naturally fall back asleep. So keep takeaway is don't beat yourself up when that happens. And don't make it mean that because you woke up at 3 a.m., you're going to have a terrible day.
Wow. That was the gold. That's the gold we needed today. I needed because when I wake up, that's exactly what I do. My brain goes, I have got to get sleep. And then, yeah, now I can see that's just, agitating my brain. It's making it get even more upset. So I love it. I'm
Especially
going to
for
try
those
that.
of us that, yeah, for those of us that like want to, like, if you're here, right, you're like, oh, I know I need to get good sleep. How do I hack this? What do I need to do
Right.
to fix this? And what I think is most valuable is what can I let go of? What pressure can I let go of so
Hmm.
that my body can do what it's naturally designed to do? If we let our brain rest, even if you don't fall back asleep, you can practice like a guided meditation or non-sleep deep relaxation exercises, which you can find
Hmm.
on YouTube or Insight Timer, and
Hmm.
just let your brain drift. And if sleep
Right.
needs to come, it'll come. So just trusting that.
I love that. I do use those YouTube meditations when I'm having a rough time getting back to sleep, and they do
Yeah.
work most of
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Sometimes it doesn't,
Uh,
and if it doesn't, it's okay too. You can say, "Hey, good morning, brain. We're gonna start building our sleep drive for tonight. If
oh,
we woke up a little bit early and we can't go back to sleep, that's okay. Like don't like resist the urge to sleep in later. So like wait till 7 and then you fall back asleep for 2 hours and then you get up at 9 or whatever it may look like.
mhm,
But
mhm,
just allow yourself to be awake and trust that you're gonna build sleep pressure for the next night.
mhm.
So you can work with
That's
your
a great
physiology in that
tip.
way too.
That's a great tip. So, since we're moved into the tips section, I know that you've got a lot of tools like that one you just shared with us. Put your hand, you know, what talk kindly to ourselves, try to bring that nervous system in a relaxed state. What other tips can you share with us when we're having trouble sleep? So I also heard you say, try to resist taking naps. Resist if you have a bad night, trying to sleep in, make up for it, because then you're just going to create less sleep pressure the next night. What are some other tools that you have for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we we have this autonomic nervous system, right? It's what would increase your blood pressure or your heart rate if I were to say something very heavy right now or stressful or it's what causes us to yawn in times where we're shifting states. And you may notice this in your dog when they stress yawn. It's like they're trying to regulate that system. And so the most powerful tool that we can actionably control is our breath. And that activates the parasympathetic rest or digest response. And so we want to shift out of the fight or flight that our thoughts can keep us in, especially when we're, for example, perfectionists and we're overthinking and we're ruminating or we're thinking, like, what else can I do? An entrepreneur is in that state all the time. And so using the breath is the most powerful way that we can let our system calm down. And that may look as simple as just extending your exhales. You don't have to do this deep and crazy breath work necessarily. Just extend the exhales. So notice as you breathe in, notice as you breathe out. Breathe in and out only through your nose, because when we breathe in and out through our mouth, we're not getting nitric oxide that's usually made in the nose. So nitric oxide dilates the blood vessels and it allows more oxygenation. So even something as simple as not breathing in and out through your mouth and intentionally breathing in and out through your nose could create a shift.
Wow. Well, I just learned something new. I've learned that breathing exercises, but I really like that just focus on a longer exhale. You don't
It,
even have to
the
count or do
easiest
anything like
things,
that. You're just
yeah,
doing it.
the easiest things are honestly sometimes the most powerful things.
I
And
love that.
they're often free, right? Morning
Right.
sunlight is the most potent regulator of the circadian rhythm. The times that you eat your meals, the times that you get movement, the times that you practice social connection, all of that impacts the circadian rhythm and your ability to fall asleep and your ability to stay awake and alert during the day. But the breath
Very good.
is the one that we can control. We can't change our heart rate or our blood pressure. We can change the rate and speed and depth of our breath. So that is a powerful tool.
Which in turn can help regulate those other things.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I can give you
So,
one more if we have time.
oh yeah, let's do it. We've got time for one more.
Yeah, another powerful tool when we have these ruminating, racing thoughts is called emotional freedom tap, a technique. Have you heard of that? EFT
I have
tapping?
not called that. I don't know.
It's powerful, right? So it gets us out of the amygdala and into the frontal cortex of our brain. And it may just be like tapping on the edge of your hand and saying kind thoughts. For example, I notice that I'm having a hard time falling asleep right now. Even though I can't fall asleep in this moment, I can rest. I can work with this. And then you go through different meridian points that are acupressure points, the top of the eyebrows, the sides of the temples, under the eyes, above the lip, below the lip, the chin, clavicles, and then the armpit. And this is called EFT, emotional freedom technique, to release the stress and anxiety that comes with those wakeful moments where we can't shut the brain down. You go through that a couple of times and you'll notice that at some point your brain starts to shift. So look it up, EFT for insomnia on YouTube. I'm sure you can find.
As I said, I didn't know it by that name. I know it EFT. I've learned EFT working with my therapist, and
Yeah.
it is powerful. And the something that I learned coming from someone who's been an entrepreneur for some time, and studies a lot of different trainings and sales and mindset and things like that is, be positive, all this kind of stuff. And the thing that struck me that was hard for me to adjust to was to actually acknowledge, hey, I'm feeling some stress right now. Hey, I'm uncomfortable with what's going on. And I learned through my therapist that my nervous system needs to hear the truth. Like, this is your truth right now. And then that, I don't understand all the science behind it, but it does bring everything into balance. And it is
Mhm.
powerful. And that was a big shift for me.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
powerful.
I never
I
knew it was
agree.
called I didn't know what the EFT stood for.
Yeah, emotional freedom technique.
Pretty cool. That is awesome. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our time together. I do want to talk about because I know when I first heard your story, one of the things you talked about and that we had in common is perfectionism. So I wanted to just, if you could just tell us a little bit about how letting go of perfectionism does help the healing process. And why is that important to sleep?
Yeah, I think perfectionism sets a certain standard for ourselves. I'm a recovering perfectionist as well, right? when we have a certain goal that we're trying to meet and we never really quite let ourselves get there because we're always setting the bar higher and higher and higher and hoping to achieve this level of perfection that may not even be possible, we will always have a thought of, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I need to earn more. I need to be better. I need to do more for my patients, is what my brain tells me. The system is not serving them well. I need to build the perfect practice. All of these thoughts that cause rumination, it causes us to feel this sense of I'm not doing enough. And if your brain will see that actually as a threat, right? It puts your body into fight or flight because you're never giving yourself the time and space to rest. You're always in an active state. And that can create inflammation in the body. It can create a dysregulated immune system. It can, perfectionism can come from chronic stress, potentially a trauma in the past where you learned that your worth was tied to your productivity. And therefore, your brain makes it that I just need to do more and then I'll be worthy. And I've been on that journey, and I recognized that was what was keeping me from falling asleep was the perfectionism. And so I created
Mhm.
the Coming Home program to really recognize that we have to come back to ourselves and find belonging within ourselves, not in our productivity or the tasks that we got to do or our bank account or what our family thinks of us or what other thinks of us. When we give ourselves our worth and our value, regardless of our productivity, then our nervous system can rest. And I think
Mm.
if I help people from that perspective to improve their relationship with themselves, it literally will improve your body's physiology and will allow more rest and calm and peace in a brain that is wired for this overthinking, ruminating perfectionism.
Wow. Dr. Guzman, the conversation today has been everything and more that I expected. And I just want to thank you so much for showing up for our community today and sharing so much wisdom that it comes from your heart. And I want, before I let you go, before we go, I want to make sure our community knows how they can work with you, learn more about you. I want to say you have an amazing YouTube channel, so I'm gonna link that for sure as one of the resources. But tell us a little bit more about how they can work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the practice you can find on dreamlifemedical.com. I do telehealth in sleep medicine, weight health. So I help people improve their metabolic health. I practice both in Georgia and Florida through telehealth. I also have an office here in Pinellas Park near St. Pete. And if you're in the area locally, I would love to invite you to my free Walk with a Doc event the second Saturday of each month at 9 a.m. We walk around Crescent Lake Park and connect and enjoy sunshine and enjoy movement, all of the things that are good for our body and our soul. And then, if you want to learn more about sleep as a function of the nervous system, I also have a free workshop that I do each month. The next one is June 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern, where you can come and ask any questions around sleep health and that kind of thing. And I'll go into more of the physiology of what we covered today.
That was fabulous. So, are all like your walk and your workshop, are they all can be found on your website,
Yeah, on the
dreamlifemedical.com,
website at
right?
the top, you'll see join here. I'm creating a free online community where you see all the free events and you can RSVP
Nice.
there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So, to the audience, go and check out her website. I'm also going to put her YouTube because it's amazing. And if you got value out of today's conversation, or if you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, Be sure to share this video with them. Just hit the share button and send it over to them and tell them why they need to watch it. And we will see you for our next Wellness Lounge next time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Carla. Appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome.